afternoon. So it's windy, you can see that, and it's about 32 degrees, and I'm wearing a pea coat, and it's chilly. What can you say? We're gonna have a white Christmas? Doubtful, and that's okay. There are enough obstacles to life without a white Christmas. Sorry, children. I'm really disappointed, however, in recent snowstorms when I've gone out, there are no kids out. I lived in the city as a kid in the South Bronx. We were all in the street, throwing snowballs and everything else. They don't make kids like they used to. Sorry, moms. Now, what's on the calendar? Well, in the category of crises, and this is a beauty, because it's not only happening here, but the Colorado River is receding. What does that mean? That means farms and cities are at risk. And how does this happen? Well, for an extended period of time, you're taking more water out of the ground than is able to recharge in groundwater or aquifers. And so as a result, you got less water. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is, food, towns, and then add to it dams. You know how a dam works, right? You hold the water back and you release it downstream. The concept is really simple in this way, that the water on one side of the dam is high, and by holding it back and controlling its passage through the dam, you get hydroelectric power. But if the upstream water is not high, you lose the potential energy. I haven't thought of that in a while. Undergraduate physics, the potential energy. The potential energy of the water at the height, the height decreases, the potential falls, there's no transfer of energy, so you lose that energy. And at some point, the water upstream can fall low enough that the dam can't operate. And that presents obstacles downstream. How many states are involved? 7 states out west are involved. Another example of people knitting for years, not paying attention to what's going on. And what they'd have to do is these 7 states are going to have to cut 2 to 4 million acre feet of water use. That means something like 30%. So are they going to do it? And if you listen carefully, you can hear somebody shooting guns. This is a happy neighborhood. I'm in a Republican precinct. And we have yahoos shooting, practicing for I don't know what, the Great Revolution, or for the animals that they don't shoot and kill. Sorry, I'm tolerant of real hunters, but not these yahoos. Anyhow, moving on. There's a question, and this got me upset today during the Talking Heads. Schiff, whom I have a lot of respect for. He's a very smart man. He's a good lawyer. He's on the right side of most issues. But politicians get very nervous when they're criticized. And there's all this talk about hemming in social media. All those people out there, that's you and me, we are out there saying what we believe. Now, are there liars out there? Are there kind of back alleys in the internet social media network? Yeah, there are. But are we going to trust the government to modify what's on social media to suit some standard they choose? Is that kind of the Ministry of Truth thing that we hear in 1984? Those of us who still remember those words as merely a scary thing that we hope could only happen in tiny episodes in places like Russia and so forth. But right here at home it's happening. Now, under the theory, as I said the other day, that there's nothing new under the sun, some of you may remember from your high school history course, or after that John Adams had the Alien Sedition laws, which allowed him to criminalize people's opinions at the time. And there are some great stories going back to that period. And that was also at a time when politicians created their own newspaper to write about them. So some of the things just haven't changed. Now, you may have heard about Section 230 of the FCC. They want to modify 230 and not give immunity to those vehicles, electronic vehicles, like Facebook and so forth, that are providing a way to communicate, but not moderating content. And the question is, how do you draw such a line? I don't want the government doing it. They've been talking about this for some time, and it strikes me as censorship. I think I'm smart enough to figure when somebody's lying, and I know how to research stuff to find out what the true facts are as opposed to what some of these corrupt people are doing these days. And we should encourage people to invoke certain laws that allow them to be protected when a false statement is made. And the biggest problem that I see in social media and online are the lies, huge lies. And I'm talking about policy, not just about trashing people. So that's something to consider. There's a bittersweet event in Virginia. Virginia Holton, who was the first lady of the state, and back when they were having resistance, the resistance to integration, they were having segregation. She was speaking up against it, and her husband was the governor of the state, and it said something really good about Virginians in a difficult time. You know, I like to talk about heroes. Well, she's passed from this life in her early 90s, and her son-in-law is Senator Tim Kaine, who married her daughter. And so it's bittersweet. The lady had a fabulous life, and she showed courage and heart at a time when a lot of Virginia did not. So that's too bad. May she rest in peace. We have the January 6th committee tomorrow is going to tell us what they think is criminal behavior and by whom, with referrals. And no less than Chris closed down the bridge. Christie said on ABC today, oh, why should they refer anything? You know, and I go back to the simple thought. This is like a home invasion, and you're being told, don't complain to law enforcement about it. Stay quiet, trust them. How can you trust them when for 2 years they haven't done a damn thing? If the committee is frank, they'll say we're really upset, and we wouldn't be doing this if the Justice Department wasn't sitting on its hands and Garland was half asleep doing nothing. But hey, they probably won't say that. But what I would like to see is why not invoke something that is within their purview. Article 14, Section 3, which provides that if you try to overthrow the government, bingo, you can lose your right to hold office. That's what we should be doing. So I'm out, and it's really cold today, and but I just keep moving. That'll keep me warm. And in the meantime, on this happy Sunday, I am in my cathedral of trees, and I have miles to go before I stop. Bye-bye.